Okay, Mark, 13 and 14 are very similar. The thing that makes those different is that there's not two letters in each. But what you do is you still make a table, just like we're doing on the other ones. There's no y to get by itself for 13, but what you do is, since x is -6 always, you just make a table and throw -6 in for x. And then y is y. It doesn't matter what y is, because this equation says x is always -6. So we can make y anything. And I'll use -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, just what I always usually pick for x. When you graph those points, you're going to end up with a vertical line like that. And hopefully you didn't say you needed help with 14, but if you do that same thing with 14, y is always 4. And x could be -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, because there's no place to plug the x in the equation. And what happens there is that ends up being a horizontal line when you graph it. For number 15, we're just going to go through this normal process of getting y by itself. Subtract 3x, subtract 3x, and then -2y comes down. But 0 minus 3x, I don't write 0 minus 3x because it's 0. I'm just going to say -3x. Divide both sides by -2. Negative divided by a negative is +3/2x. Now, if you were making a table with this, and you would choose -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, you would just end up graphing decimals, which is fine. But since this denominator of this fraction is a 2, if you pick numbers divisible by 2, like -4, -2, 0, 2, and 4, you're going to end up getting numbers that are not decimals. So you can avoid decimals by picking different numbers. I always pick negatives, positives, and 0, though. You also said you needed help with 22. This C equals 8H for the word problem. We're going to treat that as y and x. Wouldn't it normally be y equals 8x when we would graph? Okay? So it's very similar to that. So I would say this is the C and this is the H instead of x and y. All right? But if you notice, we're not going to put any negative numbers in here. If you look at the graph over here, the H's, or in this case the X's, are going to be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Plug those into the equation. 8 times 0 is 0, so your first point's going to be 0, 0 over there like that. And then just go from there. Keep plugging them in. Treat it as y and x, even though it's C and H in a word problem situation. Shoot me an email if you still don't understand or if you need any more help.